Okay, this is 7th grade activity 4.4. Our objective for this activity, students will use the simple interest formula to determine the amount of interest earned or paid in different scenarios. The standard covered in this lesson is 7RP3 and 7EE3. The page numbers out of the hardcover book are 178 through 183, and out of the practice journal, pages 101 through 104. Today we're going to be using your practice journal, so you're going to want to go ahead and open up your book to page 101. Before we get started on the activity, there's a couple of vocab terminologies that we need to review. So as I'm going through these in the lesson, you understand the things that I'm talking about. So interest, first of all, is money that is either paid or earned for the use of money. So when would you use interest? Well, for example, like on credit cards. If you put money on a credit card and you don't pay it off, you have to pay interest on the money that's still on that credit card. You also have the reversal, where maybe in a bank account you get paid interest. So you're getting where the bank is paying you to actually use your money, and you're getting paid interest throughout a period of time. CDs, things like that, not music CDs, but CDs in terms of like cash deposits or cash savings bonds, things like that. Those are going to gain interest over a period of time. Principal is the amount of money that was either deposited or borrowed. So that's the initial money. That's the money that you initially took out. So like if you took out a loan to buy a car, the principal is the money that you owe, not including the interest that you're having to pay. Simple interest is the money that is paid or earned only on the principal. So yes, there is a type of interest called compound interest, and that's usually what you will be dealing with, but we're going to start off pretty easy with simple interest, and that's where we're just going to be figuring the interest on the amount of money at the beginning and then finding the interest from there, not adding in the amount, like when you add the interest into your bank account. This money is earned on savings accounts or an investment. It can also be money that you pay for borrowing money, and I kind of discussed that as I went through the vocab. Okay, so how to figure simple interest. You're going to be using this formula quite a bit. So just so I can understand or explain what the formula is, the I is just standing for our interest, and yes, we're just going to be working simple interest. So our interest is equal to our principal. That's the amount of money that we either borrow or that we loan out to somebody. Times our rate, that's going to be our percentage. So usually they'll give us a percent per year, but sometimes they pay us percents per month. And then the amount of time. This is usually in years, but sometimes it does vary, so you're going to have to pay attention to that. Now, as long as we know all three of these four situations, we can always solve for the fourth one, okay? And we don't have to memorize 4 different formulas. We can plug in the known information into each of those 4 letters and then solve for the missing letter. So here it says, find the simple interest on your savings account that has $1,000 at 3% interest for 1 year. So we want to figure out our interest. So we've got interest equals, do we know the amount of money that was in the account, our principal? Yes, that was $1,000. So I'm going to put 1,000 in that first spot. Okay, do we know the percent rate? So our rate, yep, that's right here. So times 3%. I'm going to go ahead and write that as 0.03 so I don't forget later. And then times the amount of time. So our amount of time was 1 year, so times 1 year. So to figure out my interest, this is just how much money I'm getting paid for that $1,000. I'm going to go ahead and punch in 1,000 times 0.03 times 1. And when I do that, I get $30. So I am going to earn $30 on that $1,000. So at the end of 1 year, if I haven't taken any money out, I would have $1,030 in my account because the bank is going to pay me that $30 for borrowing and using my money. So that's working with simple interest, and we're going to be practicing this quite a bit throughout this whole activity and lesson. So here, if you go ahead and open up your book to page 101, we're going to go ahead and do this activity together. It says work with a partner. Well, we'll go ahead and do this together. You put $100 in a savings account. The account earns 6% simple interest. So here's our principal. That's how much money we put in. Here's our rate, our R, 6% interest per year. Find the interest earned and the balance at the end of 6 months. So this one's going to kind of be tricky because usually when you work with time, you're going to work off of a year. Okay, so, and it did say per year, so we're going to have to do something a little bit tricky here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and find the interest earned. So if we were to go through, there's a couple different ways that we could actually figure this out. If we were to go through and find in a year how much interest was earned, then we could figure out how much interest we'd get per month and go from there. So if I wanted to do that, we're going to figure for a year and then we'll understand it so that we can figure out for 6 months. So we're going to go ahead and do our interest, which we don't know, equals our principal, which was $100, times our rate, which was 6%, so 0.06, times, for right now, we're going to use our year, and then we'll go back and modify that for the 6 months, so times 1 year. So 0.06 times 1 year is times 100, and then times 1 is going to give us $6. That's for a whole year. Okay, so if I wanted to figure out how much I was going to get for each month, well, we're going to take that $6 and we're going to divide it by 12 because there's 12 months in 1 year. So if I take $6 and divide that by 12, it gives me 0.5, which is the same as 50 cents. So every single month, they're going to give me 50 cents for using that $100. So at month 0, well, the interest earned would be $0. So my balance would still be $100 because I put that $100 in there. At month 1, it's now been in for a month, I'm going to get 50 cents added on to that. So my interest would be 50 cents or 0.50. My balance is the 100 plus my 50 cents, so $100 and 50 cents. Okay, so at month 2, now how much interest do I have? Well, you're going to continue to add 50 cents, but I don't want you to put 50 cents here. You're going to add another 50 cents. Okay, so now I've earned $1. Maybe it would be easier for us to go through and just do, we're going to add 50 cents every time. Granted, this is the same as, my sum would be the same as $1. Okay, but to make it easier for you guys, we're just going to add 50 cents to that balance. I now have $101. Okay, but so far I have earned $1 interest, okay? So now we're going to go ahead the next month, add another 50 cents. So now my total interest earned was $1.50. Okay, we're going to add these two together. 101.50. Okay, so let's do one more. The next month, at month 4, I still get another 50 cents. So now my interest is up to $2. And my balance, if I add these together, is now $102. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and finish out months 5 and 6. Okay, and then you're going to go ahead and graph it. So we'll graph to begin with. So at month 0, this is our X and this is our Y, we got $100. Month 0, $100. And you can either use a line or a bar graph, that's up to you. I'm going to do a line graph. So month 0, I'm at $100. Okay, at month 1, I'm now at, sorry, this is my X over here. This is my Y, this is my X. At month 1, I'm at $100.50. So month 1, $100.50. Okay, month 2, I'm at $101. So over to 2 up to 101. So you're going to continue in that fashion. So go ahead, pause your video, finish out months 5 and 6, and finish the graphing in your book on page 101, and then check back to check your answers. Okay, you should have ended up with something like this, although when we did our interest, remember, we just kept adding and putting 50 cents in here, but off to the side, I was putting these numbers in there also. Okay, either way, we still ended up with the balance. Here on this bar, this one I did a bar graph. We were doing a line graph when we went through and did that. We plotted the points. Okay, so that's working with just understanding earning that interest. At the end of 1 year, we would end up earning $6. Here we only ended up $3 ahead because we had only kept it in there for 6 months. Okay, so practice journal pages 102 through 103. It says in 2010, the United States owed about $10 trillion in debt. The interest rate on the traditional national debt is 3% per year. Okay, so 3% per year. And this is actually activity 3. So I must have skipped over activity 2. We'll come back to that later. Okay, so when you go through to do this, it says write 10 trillion in decimal form. How many zeros does this number have? Okay, so jumping back to probably 5th and 6th grade, those place values. So 10, and then this would be 1,000. 3 more zeros would be million. 3 more zeros is billion. There's our trillion. So there's 10 trillion, okay? Then it says, how many zeros does this number have? Well, we've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 13 zeros. Okay. How much interest does the United States pay each year on its national debt? Now, the reason they wanted us to kind of work with those zeros is because a lot of your calculators aren't going to let you be able to go through and actually punch in all of those zeros. So we're going to go ahead and do 3% of, we could do 10. And then we'll move our zeros. Instead of 13, we're going to move our decimal place, because I took one of those off, we're going to move it 12 places this direction. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do 10. We're going to take that front number times 3% is 0.03. Okay, so 10 times 0.03 gives us 0.003. Okay, well, remember, we have to still move our zeros. So we're going to still have to move our zeros these 12 more places, because really there's 12 more zeros behind this. So if we move it 12 places, there's 1, 2, 3. We're going to have to add 9 zeros to that to get a total of 12. So a 3 followed by 9 zeros. Whoops, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's how much money we have to pay, which would be 3. So this is 1,000, this is million, this is billion. So $3 billion is what we're paying just in interest. So it says, how much interest does the United States pay each day on its national debt? So now what would we do with this number to figure out how much we're paying each day? Okay, how many days are in a year? 365. So we're going to divide that by 365. So each day, and I'll see if on my calculator it'll let me do this, but 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It will let me fit those on there. Divided by 365. When I do that, I get 8219178. So I'm going to jot that down. 8219178 decimal 02. So now if I put my commas in, I can read it. I'm not good at reading without the commas. So every single day, the interest that we're paying as the United States is $8,219,178 approximately in national debt. So that's a huge, huge amount. Okay, it says, letter D says, and I know I don't have it up here on the screen, the United States has a population of 300 million people. Estimate the amount of interest that each person pays per year toward interest on the national debt. So we could go through and divide this number right here, because it was saying per year. Divide that by, what was it? 300 million. So 300, there's 1,000 million. So if you go through and you divide those two out, what's it going to end up giving us? Well, what do they have in common? They have 9 zeros in common. No, 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's going to leave us with 30. Divided by 3 is going to give us 10. So every person pays $10 per year for that national debt. Okay, that's it for the activity on pages 102 and 103. We're going to go ahead and just skip past activity 2 there. This, like I said, you're going to be working a lot with your decimals and percents. I promise that in the lesson, you're not going to have to work with numbers quite so big, but that's why I tend to do the activities with you. So good luck with this, and you don't have any independent work.